Welcome to Conversations from Stritch. Today is November 2nd. I'm Dave Livingston, and I'm joined by Dr. Christopher Sent, our provost. I hope everyone had a terrific Halloween despite the cold. I know we had a lot of fun on campus this week with trick-or-treating in the LRC. There were numerous parties with clubs and organizations all over campus. I know there were a lot of people that were dressed up, and we had some great costumes, as you're seeing here. So everybody had fun with it, which is totally appropriate. We also had another great community hour yesterday featuring Thanksgiving ornament making, cookie lessons, comedy, usual jam session, esports, and Mass. I do want to say All Souls Day Mass starts today at 12:30. So if you want to watch us later on YouTube, you can always catch it later. If you want to leave your room or your office and head over for the Mass for All Souls Day, feel free to do that over in the chapel. This week, and we have been talking about this, Chris, for feels like 9 months, maybe closer to a year. We've been talking about the Higher Learning Commission voting on the merger between Lewis University and St. Augustine College. Their fall meeting is today and tomorrow, and so we expect to vote on the merger between St. Augustine and Lewis University probably tomorrow. We probably won't hear the official decision because it comes via a formal letter that will be sent to my office at some point, so probably next week sometime. But we are still planning that the corporate merger in terms of the legal closing will take place on December 1st. Speaking of St. Augustine, and I was unable to be there, unfortunately. I had some issues that I had to address here on campus, but I know you were there, Chris. They hosted a terrific event that I think we'll talk about even a little bit more later because several of you were there. The HACU meeting, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, hosted their meeting this weekend. I was there on Saturday. And St. Augustine, as a part of the end of the meeting, hosted nearly 500 high school students from around the Chicagoland area to learn about STEM and related fields. Faculty of both Lewis University and St. Augustine gave demonstrations in a wide range of areas from robotics to nursing to chemistry. And our show's own producer, Professor Kilpatrick, along with one of today's guests, were also there talking about media, broadcasting, and communications. So a hugely successful event. Getting 500 high school students in one place, all interested in their futures, is exciting. So I appreciate, and I want to say just thank you to all the faculty and staff who made the trip on a icy, snowy morning into Chicago the day after Halloween to participate in this important event. And I know we'll share more about this later. So, but that wasn't the only thing going on this week. So you have a lot of other...
Yeah, I just want to say it was a wonderful event. It was great to be there. So, about 450 high school students from all around the Chicago area. It's just so much energy in the building there at St. Augustine. And I just also want to reiterate our gratitude to all of our faculty from Lewis, who many of them, including the people we just mentioned, drove out from this area where we are in the Romeoville, Will County area, and it was a really icy, slow, trafficy day, so that it was a pretty big journey to St. Augustine, and the faculty just did an amazing job of interacting with these high school students and making it really a special day. It was just really beautiful to see. So kind of similarly, last Friday we hosted a celebrated writing day here at the Romeoville campus. This event takes place every year. This year, as usual, it was in the St. Charles Borromeo, and it brings high school students from around the Chicago area to the Lewis campus for a day of speakers and workshops that promote the joys of writing. And it was another really successful day, lots of people here. So I just want to express my gratitude so much to the English Studies department for hosting this event every year that brings so many students to the Lewis campus. Lewis was well represented at the 2023 Midwest NOISE Conference at St. Louis on October 21st. 4 faculty and 6 students attended the conference for NOISE scholars. The NOISE Teacher Scholarship Program funds institutions to provide scholarships and programmatic support to recruit and prepare STEM majors and professionals to become K through 12 teachers. So you recall this is a grant that we have actually received twice over the last 5 to 8 years that spans this whole period and funds the work that we're talking about here and scholarships for people who want to be STEM teachers. Kara Hassman, a secondary education graduate student and biology alum, and Dr. Jerry Kavoris, a biology professor, presented a presentation called Improving Cultural Responsiveness as a Member of an International Research Team. You also remember we've talked several times about the group from Bogota who were here over the summer, and that's really what this research was about, or in collaboration with that LaSallian University in Colombia. They discussed how the program called Soil, People, the Environment, and Food for Life benefited students interested in a career as high school STEM teachers. The program was an international collaboration, as I said, with Universidad de la Salle in Bogota, Colombia, and the University of Delaware, where students and faculty studied climate change and soil degradation issues. So in addition, Lewis University, at the same conference, Lewis University faculty, Dr. Doreen Hoover and Dr. Teresa Bixby served on a panel with faculty from Aurora, Northeastern, and Elmhurst in a panel called Recruiting and Retaining Racially, Ethnically, Linguistically, and Gender Diverse STEM Teacher Educators who are prepared to teach students in culturally relevant ways. So congratulations to everyone who participated in that. Another example of how these grants that we get, really make an impact in our Lewis community and then broader community. Congratulations to Dr. Edson Chapalo, Assistant Professor of Social Work, who recently published a paper called Predictors of Chronic Debilitating Conditions Among Refugees Resettling in the United States. I know that's his area of expertise. We were really excited when he came to Lewis. And that was published in the Global Journal of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. And finally, it's time for another play from the Philip Lynch Theater. It's called 4 Plays for Course Actors, written by Michael Green. It will be performed November 17th through 19th and November 30th through 3rd, so that's before and after Thanksgiving. Performances, as usual, are on 7:30 on Friday and Saturday with a 2:30 matinee. And on the final weekend, there's an additional performance on Thursday. So as the name suggests, I don't know if you know about this play. It's it's been around like 40, 50 years maybe. It's 4 different short plays. Yeah. And the word course, I believe, means amateur, essentially. So
meaning like me, if I went on stage.
Yeah, like if we decided to put on a play with everyone who worked in Stritch Hall or something like that.
Right.
So it's real great student actors who are sophisticated, performing that they're not good.
Yes.
That sounds really complicated and fun to watch. And it's, apparently outrageous. I've never actually seen it in production, but it's sort of a famous postmodern play. Anyway, so that's one thing that's happening. And
so that's one event, but we have a whole list of events, which is, always, I love this, our ability every week. Feels like every week we must run out of all the things that could possibly happen on a campus because we have such a long list. And then the next week we have another list
and
that
it's
has
not the whole list.
No, it's not even the whole list. That's a good point. So a few things that are going on. We do this week, actually today at 4:30 in the gallery, poetry reading featuring Jamaica Williams. Also today, the ALPA Club, which is an aviation club, ACE Club for airline professionals, is happening today. Best Buddies has their meeting, and we also have Day of the Dead crafts that are happening. In addition, the Gender Sexuality Alliance Art Night is today, and the U.S. Air Force Band is playing tonight, which is really, it's incredible. That's all just today. So let alone what's happening tomorrow and over the weekend. So we do have a lot of athletic events happening. Women's, as it says, women's volleyball is hosting. We have the pumpkin pitch, which is always fun. If you've never done the pumpkin pitch, come in this weekend. This is for families in the area. If you have a cousin or whatever, the physics department takes these pumpkins, they develop a mechanism, and they see which mechanism can toss the pumpkins the furthest and smash them into a big bin that is in the middle of the parking lot. So it's a fun event. Even if you can't bring a pumpkin, it's fun to watch the pumpkins get pitched. We also, of course, have women swimming. Men's and women's swimming is hosting here this weekend. Women's volleyball is hosting Upper Iowa this weekend. And a big part of our conversation today, just pointing out the WLRA 50th anniversary celebration in De La Salle. We also have our men's team is hosting Rockhurst, and our women's soccer team in the first round of the GLVC tournament is hosting Missouri St. Louis. So, and I think what we always know what that means is not only there are 13 teams in the conference, so the top 8 play in the tournament, and the top 4 teams host. So both of our men's and women's teams are top 4 in there. We do have some arts and ideas events happening. Turkish Republic at 100, a lecture on that. Coping and Thriving as a first-gen flyer. The Innovation Hub ribbon cutting is happening next week. And Life in Gaza, a documentary film about being born in Gaza. So basically children that are being raised in Gaza. That'll be put on by the MSA. And of course, next Wednesday, another community hour. So there is more than enough to do over the next next week. It's very exciting. But we do want to celebrate today with our guests a long-standing tradition that we're kind of a part of. It's really about the radio side, but the communication area. So you're going to introduce our guests.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our focus area today, and we've already announced the celebration of WLRA on Saturday night. Before I introduce our guests, a reminder that we have a email that you can write into if you want to ask questions about the topic that we're talking about or ask our guests questions. We will pass those along and get them into our conversation. Also, a reminder that if you're watching this on YouTube and not live, you can still ask questions if you want to. If you're watching and have a question, you can still use that email to get the question asked, and I can forward them to whomever might be the right person to respond. So I'm really pleased to welcome 2 guests today. I'm going to give pretty long introductions because they're really impressive people. John Carey is an associate professor of communications and director of electronic media here at Lewis. He's been teaching here for 38 years. He's a Lewis alum and is and has been for a long time well known in the Chicago broadcasting industry and has consulted with many of the top radio and television stations over a long period of time. He's been honored as one of Lewis's distinguished LaSallian educators, our highest honor for professors. He teaches both radio and television courses and is the faculty moderator for the college radio station WLRA 81.1 FM, an iHeart radio station. I tried to do that like a broadcaster. And then Allison Lankowicz is a senior and double major in radio, television, broadcasting, and psychology. She competed as a midfielder on the Lewis women's soccer team for 3 years, was the recipient of the Brother David Delhante Award for Academic Achievement for athletes. She's been the sports director for WLRA Radio for the last 3 years, doing play-by-play and hosting a weekly sports talk show. She's also the news anchor for the Lewis University Television Network News and host for the morning television show Good Morning Lewis, which I really enjoyed watching this year. This year, Allie was named the 50th General Manager of Lewis University's radio station, WLRA. And so we're really excited to welcome you both. So glad that you're spending time with us.
Thank you.
I'm nervous being in the presence
Oh,
of
come on.
That's
You're
very
never
funny.
nervous on
Very
your
funny.
stage.
I'm nervous around you guys.
And so we've had a different director for 50 years. So there really have been exactly 50.
50 general managers
That is
of
so cool
of
to
the
be the
radio
50th
station.
one.
I know, it's really incredible, and when I became the general manager, I didn't realize I was going to be the 50th, which is just an amazing number to be, and there's so many people
Yeah.
to look up to, so I'm really honored to have the position.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Professor Carey,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how obviously you're an alum, so you're connected
Sure.
to Lewis, but how did this all start for you?
I was recruited here. The president of the university at the time, Brother David Delhante, approached me, and he said that the brothers need you here for some time to help them get a broadcasting program established. And I said, I can only give you 1 year. And
what were you doing at the time?
I was consulting for everybody. You name the station. I've been on almost every radio station's payroll at one point or another. My technical expertise is limited to the technology, but programming and content and stuff. I had worked at some of the best radio stations in Chicago. Probably the best one I ever worked at was WXRT, and doing a lot of their live broadcasts and things like that. And he said to me, would you come here? And I said, I'll give you a year commitment. And then they handed me over to somebody who's on your board of trustees, Kathy Owens. Kathy Owens was the dean of the college, and she taught me how to be a professor.
Oh, that's so
And
interesting.
and we were best friends. I was young at the time, and we started up a broadcasting program with no money. And it was an amazing feat. Some of the people who were on the administration at the time, Brother David Delahanty, Brother Eugene Lappin, Kathy Owens, Peter Kosiba. These are names in our past, but they are probably the main reason the university's here. Wayne Drought, Tom Brodnicki, they were wonderful people. And you mentioned John Kilpatrick. Well, he was one of my first students in the program too. He was here, and we started a program, and we went into the high schools and did recruiting tapes for the high schools at no charge to the schools, most of the Catholic schools in Chicago, and showed them how to do recruiting for Catholic education. And then the students we were filming ended up coming to Lewis. So it was
So John, I'd love to follow up a little bit on this. I'm sure that Allie has heard this story, but you mentioned that you started with nothing.
Yeah.
So could you give me 3 or 4 moments in kind of the history of the program in which we either got a piece of equipment, got a new room, moved the radio station from here to there, that might give our audience a sense of how did it go from nothing to everything that it is now?
The 50 years of the radio station, it's all been student involvement from the very beginning. You're fortunate to have met Mike Burlack 5 years ago. Mike was the first student who actually got the license for the radio station. The university didn't have these kind of resources. The money to get into broadcasting is expensive. So the students are very innovative, and they're very creative, and they're very resourceful. When they would get jobs at radio and TV stations, they would give us leads into the station saying either technology available to Lewis, job leads, mentoring, internships, and then through the years and stuff, it just kept growing and growing and growing. There's been a lot of alumni that work at some of the top radio stations in Chicago now. WGN has a lot of Lewis people at it. WXRT has a lot of Lewis people there. And we're proud that they're our alumni. And even the TV stations too, they give us technology. This technology that we use to broadcast with is very, very expensive. But we recognize that this technology is something that we'd like to teach with, and they want us to teach with it too. But through the 50 years of the radio station, those students themselves have come up with innovative content on the air. We've had, you name the format that college radio plays. I've gone through punk rock, alternative, rock, hard rock, metal, K-pop. The list is endless. I mean, it all fit the personality of the students on the air. A lot of people don't know it, but I'm going to tell everybody that you two were disc jockeys in college.
We were.
You were DJs and stuff, and you told me that they buried you on the air in the middle of the night.
Well, exactly. I mean, I had initially that 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. slot for college radio.
You must have been real great.
So, John, I want to go back to, because I think this is the case, but I want you to confirm this. The early radio station was in Fitzpatrick.
It was in Fitzpatrick,
which now no longer exists.
Right.
And the current radio station now is in De La Salle.
De La Salle Hall. And the funny thing about this building is that this is the TV studio. This was a gym. This facility that we're in right now with the studios, and they built a second floor onto it, and then on the other side of the walls there, they built the radio studios. When we talk about building something from nothing, Fitz Hall was really the sweat and hard work of all the students. that had ever worked at the radio station. They wanted a studio, they built it. They wanted another studio, they just built it the way that they felt they would to do the content and do the different operations. Back in those days, we had Newswire on a teletype, and they would rip it off there and highlight it and put it up on the wall and stuff, and this is probably familiar for you guys and stuff.
Exactly.
Sounds
very familiar.
Now it's all electronically fed to us, but back then, I mean, you know, we had one microphone for the whole station, and then we've evolved. But when we came over here, it really gave us a chance to build a real facility and to build a TV studio. And that's more designed for it to be a TV studio, build radio studios that are more to be radio studios, and to, with the innovations in technology too nowadays, if you go in our TV control room, it's great that we can see what's going on over at the gym right now, because we have fiber optic communications over there, over to the the soccer field, whatever the sport that we want to televise.
By the way, good to know if you're in the gym.
Yeah, you're being watched.
You're being watched right now.
Right,
I mean,
So Allie, if I could, we're talking about all this great equipment that we have. So maybe you could just reflect a little bit about like what it's like to be able to, like imagine doing a broadcasting degree if you didn't have all this equipment that's exactly the same as what it will be at WGN or what have you.
So the equipment it gives us everything that we need and everything that we need to learn to be successful. So when I first started here, I had no idea how to be a radio disc jockey. I didn't know what a fader was. I didn't even know we had to wear headphones all the time. I didn't know anything. But I was walked into the studio, and Tony, the program director for WLRA, he really kind of guided me, and he helped me learn pretty much everything when it comes to radio, as well as Professor Carey. I'm actually in Intro to Radio right now, which is kind of odd since I am the 50th general manager. But I did switch my majors around, so of course I have to learn the fundamentals because those are so important. So I can't even imagine being in this major without cameras or audio boards. I mean, it's all the technology, and whether or not you want to be in production and behind the camera, more behind the scenes, or even in front of the camera, it's so important that you learn everything because you need to know what it is that you're working with in order to be successful. So we're grateful for every donation that we will receive this weekend because it really helps. I mean, technology is always changing.
Right.
And as I was talking with Professor Kilpatrick and Professor Carey about yesterday, a student came in interested in the major, and we were telling her that, you have to buy a textbook for the class, but by the end of the year, it's already outdated. Honestly, by the time it's probably made and developed, the textbooks, it's probably all outdated technology. So
Allie,
it's just
can
essential.
I ask you about that, but also what got you into this? I'm interested in what the high school had for you at your high school level.
Yeah.
Did you have a radio show that you did already, or was it, I'm interested in, because I think as you speak to potential future students in this field, what do you think they're thinking now? You're older.
Right.
They're 17, they're 16, they're 18, they're walking around their high school hallways. Why would they want to be in this?
Right.
And this speed of change, it feels like, I want to call it the TikTok generation, but I'd be
it
interested
definitely is,
hearing anything you have to say about that. I guess what it feels like extreme short form.
Yep.
And I don't know what that does to how you think about the future of your field.
Well, it's crazy the amount of technology that we have, and I guess my high school, I guess I could say I was a late bloomer. I sort of came to Lewis as a few different majors. Actually, I played musical chairs with some of them. I never really quite sat down and stayed with one until I chose psychology, and I actually got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I finished that major. And then I was minoring in radio, television, broadcasting, and my passion for broadcasting started with just me doing a radio show. I did a sports talk show, and I would interview all of my friends, and I would do different segments, and then I got into broadcasting volleyball games. I had never played volleyball before, but I just sort of loved watching sports growing up, so I figured I might as well try it, And I just fell in love with it, and I feel like nowadays it's so important to just pursue something that you're passionate about, not something that will get you money or something that your parents or like pushing you towards, or your siblings. It's all about what you like doing and how it makes you feel while you're doing it. And so that's how I got myself involved in this major and in this field. And then yesterday, being able to go to St. Augustine, so many young high school students, so many young men and women, and they walked into the room and they saw the cameras and they were so intrigued and they were giggling and they were like, oh my gosh, that's me, you know. And we told them about all of the opportunities that broadcasting has. Even in corporate America today, it's crazy. And we sort of showed them how to work a camera, and they were using our robotic cameras and they were just loving it. And then even some young women stood up and they said, I love vlogging, I love TikTok, I have my own YouTube channel, and they grabbed a water bottle and they just started talking and interviewing each other and pretending like they were on live television. And I said, you know, this is exactly what we do at Lewis. We have everything that you would need to be successful in that career. You like to vlog. You know, you can make a career out of that nowadays. And I basically shared with them, Lewis has such a great major and so many great opportunities for you. You should come check it out. And I think some of them, they were pretty convinced. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
So tell me about, so I think one of the things, and I know Chris has a lot of questions too, but you raised this thing for me that I think is interesting in so many fields that we have. So I want to take your psychology, but then I also want to take this communications. So there are students out there who will say, well, I can do my vlogging with just my phone. Why do I need to get a major?
Right.
And people will also say, well, people always turn to me I'm the friend that they always turn to, so why do I need a counseling degree?
Right.
So could you talk a little bit about the difference for you in terms of the professionalism that this
Absolutely.
degree achieves for you, as opposed to just being somebody who uses a phone to do a
Absolutely.
little video?
Yeah.
And maybe if you could just talk a little, either one of you talk a little bit about what you do in the major.
Oh,
you know, because
yeah.
people might not be able to
Yeah,
exactly picture
No,
it.
it's
Quite
other
a
than
bit,
kind
yeah.
of what I'm
like
leading
what are you
into.
learning in
Right.
class
Yeah.
in addition to the practice
Right.
that we've talked about?
So
Yeah.
I guess there's such a huge difference when it comes to filming a video on your iPhone versus using a professional camera and software to edit an amazing video. I mean, that's how the industry is. You can be a small, vlogger and make a TikTok or two and go viral, but you see these individuals who take the time to learn Avid or Adobe, and they make such amazing projects out of them. And you could do so much with that. You could do freelance work. You could, make yourself a name or a brand even. And corporate America, a lot of businesses nowadays are hiring people to be their editors or their producers for their, short films or whatever they're trying to promote. And so taking the time to learn that software and get a degree is going to take you so much farther than just, making a couple TikToks on your iPhone. It's so essential to be successful, to really educate yourself.
Yeah. So how is the major constructed?
Was our major constructed?
Yeah. I mean,
It's like any other degree we have at Lewis University. It's about 48 credit hours, and it takes you from the introductory courses through the reinforcement courses to the mastery courses. We have a lot of emphasis on production in this major. We also have emphasis on writing. Because we know, as you guys know, that if you're going to be studying media, you should know how to write. It's important. The production courses are both radio and television-based sound production. But what we also find, not to turn it away from the major and stuff, is that a lot of students treat this as a co-curricular activity. Right. When you were in colleges, you guys worked at UCLA Radio and
broadcasting majors.
August State. Yeah, they're broadcasting majors around, but for the most part, some of these are just students who just want to have something to do as working in campus media, and that's the thing that we do also on top of it. If you're thinking that I could just get a degree and I could just go to a classroom and learn and then I leave, that's not going to happen in this program. Right. You know yourselves that you've attended events here. There's television cameras. The faculty are involved in a production. Tonight there's a production over there in the St. Charles Borromeo. Yep. We're televising it. If there's a sporting event going on, we're broadcasting it. And the students are building up their portfolio to show potential employers in the future what they can do, what skills they have, and that they're very creative and that they have interpersonal communication skills. So it's an all-encompassing major, and that's what we bring out from the students. I always like to joke with some of the students. Well, give them to us, and we'll get them to come out of their shell, and they'll be very talkative. I mean, we joke that I'm very talkative, but hey, this is the major. This is what we do, and these are the students who can put on an event or do a production. It's a different kind of a program.
Also, I'm imagining, as a co-curricular activity, it really speaks to all different types of students and personality types, like theater, where you could be on air, like Allie is all the time, or you could be behind the scenes.
Well,
it could be highly technical. It could be
the people behind the scenes in the radio and TV stations. There's only maybe half of them are in the major. The other half are people who just want to get involved.
Yeah.
If you're studying like business and you want to work in, promotions and marketing, there's a spot for you to work in a radio and TV station. Developing leadership skills, that's what Allie wanted to do. She wanted to develop her leadership skills. She supervises 7 students in the radio station and that run different departments. And they have their goals and objectives, and that's what we want to do with them, helping them develop their potential to be working with other people and do different things with many different personalities. And the content is probably the hardest balance of all, because you're dealing with so many different personalities, different backgrounds, different genres of music, different types of television productions. It's not just about where we're on the set doing a talk show. Sure. And the thing that we added last year and stuff, which is taking off like crazy with us, we put in a podcasting studio, which came from the alumni. The alumni paid for that. And the students use that. Other academic programs use our podcasting studio. Sure. They have a Shakespeare class in there on Fridays. Tuesdays we have criminal justice in there. There's a music class in there using it. There's a high school in there.
Science one, I know.
Yeah. And you know what I love about what you said, I want to just make 2 quick comments, because in our mission statement, and Chris and I talk about this all the time, it's this, I'm going to frame it slightly differently, but there's a theory and then there's the practice. Right. Sometimes we talk about it as liberal arts and professional preparation, but in this thing, there is theory behind this about communication and the technical stuff, and then there's the practice. And for me, the other thing that I think is so valuable is this in-the-moment problem solving. Like, you have 5 seconds to solve this problem because this slide isn't going up, or this wire isn't working, or something's wrong. And in this major, if you're producing a volleyball game, the volleyball game is happening, and if something goes wrong,
You don't call down and say, "Could you just
yeah,
wait?
can you just stop? We gotta fix this. So I think there's something about, we talk about that. I mean, Allie, you're also an athlete, you've been an athlete through high school, college. When people look to hire people, to hire somebody who's an athlete, it's because there's teamwork, there's problem solving, and it's in the immediate moment. You don't get to go home and take the assignment home and get 15 hours to figure it out. Yeah. You have to do it in the moment. And I think this is another place, like a sport, where there's this immediacy to it. And you as a manager now are now trying to help people to understand the immediacy and the reality, right? That if it goes black in the middle of a production, grandma who's watching her grandson play volleyball is upset, and we have to get that right soon.
And I've had that happen before, and honestly, it's all about rolling with the punches. I mean, you have to work with what you got, and I've had moments where volleyball players' parents will sort of text me mid-show, and they're like, "Hey, your audio," and then I'm like, "Okay," and I'll start speaking, and I'll adjust my level, and then we'll cut to a commercial or whatnot if there's a timeout, and then I'll say, "How's that?" and they're like, "Oh, it's much better." So it's all about keeping calm and just reminding yourself everything's going to be okay. And I'm trained, I know what to do, I know how to handle these situations. So I've learned so much. And honestly, this WLRA staff that I'm a part of, it is sort of like my Lewis women's soccer team. I mean, I feel like they're a family. I feel like everyone in this major is a family, and that's how I felt on the women's soccer team as well. And so it's a great correlation. Lewis is so tight-knit that I feel like no matter where you go and where you're involved, you're always going to find your people, and they're always going to have your back. So I just love being a part of both, and I'm really fortunate to be a part of WLRA this year.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and I appreciate your leadership, because I think I mean, and I know you know this, but I think sometimes hearing it, especially as an early leader, it's hard to, overstate how important it is to have somebody like you for those other 7 people, because some of them long to be in your role, and some of them don't. Some of them just want, just give me a good leader. I want to do my thing. I want to do my show. I want to do my production. But I really want somebody who respects me, who understands what's going on, who can lead me. So I'm really grateful that that when they asked you, you said yes.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a great opportunity.
So I'm going to ask a difficult question that we did not prepare for. It's so interesting to listen to each of you talk, and for Allie, you to talk about how the potential that's coming out of being in this major is so broad, and corporate possibilities as well as more traditional broadcasting. But we all hear about broadcasting and where it's going, and we started our podcasting studio in part because it is a big trend, and typically when people listen to podcasts, I may or may not be referring to myself, when you're listening to it, you're making a decision not to listen to broadcast radio. So I'm just wondering how you feel about that and how it relates to what we do at Lewis and how you think about it, in terms of your future professional life. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel totally great that you're prepared for all kinds of options in the future.
Definitely.
You can start.
Well, people nowadays, they like to say, radio is dying, but it's really not. And when you think about it, when you're streaming a music service, whether it's Pandora's radio, Spotify, you're really still engaging in that type of format. And so I don't really think it's dying at all. And I think that podcasting, although you're not, dialing into 88.1 or whatever, you're still listening, you're still streaming, you're hearing what people have to say. And it's the same medium of how you're learning. So when I'm learning radio, it's similar to learning how to create a podcast. I mean, I'm still using the microphone, and it's even greater actually. I'm learning how to edit myself to make myself sound even better when I'm making a podcast too. So you're still learning the basic fundamentals. And even though, nowadays radio is probably less popular, it's still out there, and you're still learning things that will correlate to TV, to just communicating in general. I mean, learning how to speak is important for everyone in every profession. So I don't think that anything that I'm learning is being diluted just because radio is less popular nowadays. I think I'm still learning quite a bit to be successul. So
We hear this all the time too, that, who watches television? Well, to this day, we know that's the monetized medium right now that everybody makes money on it. Radio it's hard because it has to compete with other types of audio sources, and the car manufacturers get put on the spot. They said, we're not going to put AM radios in cars anymore, and didn't that backfire? Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, that's not what we meant. Yeah, you said you weren't going to do that, but AM and FM radio is going nowhere. The other forms of medium that are out there are just, constant evolution. Things evolve and stuff like this. We're only one of 15 colleges in the country that are part of the iHeartRadio network. 15.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. So what does that mean?
They came to us. iHeartRadio liked what Lewis University was programming. We started streaming WLRA before it was popular. Right. And they were listening to us, iHeart was, and they said, and we also had a lot of alumni at iHeart, and one of their vice presidents from iHeart in Chicago contacted us, and he said, if we could get your station to be part of this radio network of college radio stations, could we count on you? And I said, where do I sign? Yeah. And they sent the equipment here, and they said, give us your content. And
so some people might not understand even what that means in terms of if I'm a DJ. How does that change the scope of who's listening?
We are an FM frequency, 88.1 FM.
By the way, we had a question. Yeah. How far does the signal carry?
That was part of the thing. Our signal goes about 15 miles in all directions from Lewis University. And that was pretty much the end of the signal. We have to share the same frequency with a few other colleges, Wheaton College, Columbia College, Homewood Flossmoor High School. We're on the same frequency. So we have
they are similar. We can't cross over. The frequencies can't cross over.
And so with that being said, we had decided that if we could get another method of delivery to push our signal out further globally, we chose streaming. But at the time, nobody knew what streaming was and stuff like this. So we started that back in 1999, streaming WLRA. And we didn't have many people listening to it because they didn't know how to. But iHeart Corporation, which used to be called Clear Channel, they wanted to start up a radio network where you would just go to them if you want to listen to college radio. They locked in 15 colleges, and they said, in Chicago, it's Lewis University, and over here it's this, and they picked strategically around the country, and we were one of the 15 that they picked. And it was great.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And let me go to this, I'll just share a little bit of the way that I consume information. Because I do listen to podcasts, but I'm also a person who listens to a lot of Audible books. But I want to, because I think some of the things you said, it feels to me like what we do is we're these multi-channel people now, right? So I often, I might be listening to NPR on my drive home, but I still want to listen to the end of the story, and then I end up going to my phone and finding the podcast, right? So. Sure. Fresh air, I'm listening to it, but I'm not going to sit in the car for the next 30 minutes because I'm home now. So, but I might want to put on my AirPods and listen to the end of the show, but now I'm walking around doing dishes or whatever. And I feel the same way. What's interesting to me is I think some of us actually, quote unquote, spend more money because a lot of times I'll get an Audible book and then I'll go buy the book. Yeah. Right? So I do both things instead of... So, because I don't want to be confined to one, and I feel like that's the same with when you talk about TV.
It is.
It's like
and nowadays,
people watch network, but they then move over to this.
People are paying for content now, and AM and FM radio is still free. Right. People do pay for it. You want XM satellite in your car, you got to pay for it. If you want to watch something on Netflix, you got to pay for it. Broadcast television is still federally regulated. Broadcast radio is still federally regulated. There's nothing fake about what's going on with those mediums. They can't get away with some of the things that traditional radio or these internet services can get away with. But but 50 years later, things evolve.
Yeah, it's both the and is what it feels like. Not a choosing either or between network TV and watching YouTube videos. It's like, I'm going to do them all. Yeah. And that's what I feel like, at least your generation. I'm part of that, but I think your generation
and we have evolved. And we have evolved because, when we first started, we were on cable television. Now we have a YouTube channel. Right. And now, we started on FM. Now we're part of a radio network. There's a lot of different ways and stuff to go, but it's all about the students and the students learning the medium and stuff. Yeah, curricular, co-curricular.
But I love the idea of it being, in this kind of what we call liberal arts tradition, being so flexible. It's a good example of a really practical major where you also have to be incredibly flexible. So, Saturday night, what's going to happen?
Yeah, let's go to that.
Everybody. That's
the WLA.
This Saturday, WLRA turns 50. We're celebrating it. If you want to come to it, there's still tickets available. You can just go to alumni.lsu.edu/WLRA50. There's going to be a lot of people there. Chris is one of the people on the program. He's going to talk about college radio a little bit. All the money that we raise from it goes towards the radio station endowment, and Chris will tell everybody on Saturday what the endowment numbers are up to, which you helped us start.
Yep.
5 years ago, and
that's great.
It's an impressive number nowadays. It's where we're at today, and
it's an incredible alumni community. I mean, we both had an opportunity to meet the alumni at different times.
And even Allie had a chance to meet our alumni when she went to a conference that we had last year.
They're amazing people, and they also have the opportunity to do a radio show on Saturday if they want. So you can also do one too. So
well, I don't know if I'm qualified. I'm not an alum.
He's been trying to get back on the air.
You do have radio history, so
right. And you don't have to be an alum to go to the party just to be here. It's a great group, but it's open to everyone who wants to celebrate.
And it's going to be here in De La Salle Hall on the first floor, and there's going to be tours of the radio station, the TV station. There's going to be a photo booth, tours of a new multimedia classroom, a lot of good things happening.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, there's so much exciting stuff going on, and I am very, very disappointed that I won't be there. And I know, I'm going to be out of the country. But I love college radio. Again, as you said, I had a radio show with one of my roommates, and we had so much fun when we were in college, and I love that it exists. And I do think this group that's coming, because I was at the 45th, they're a group of people that even if they're not in the business now, they love, they have these great memories, because it is fun. People, it's because things happen. I think part of it is being on radio. There are memories because there's always something that goes wrong or something that somebody calls in for a request that you're like, I can't believe you did that. All that kind of stuff. And I think anybody who wants to come both to just hear some stories, invest in the future of college radio here at Lewis, but also people tend to be great storytellers. So there'll be some great stories told from the 70s and 80s and 90s at WLRA that night. I'm confident of that.
Oh yeah, that's always going to be fun.
Very excited.
Well, thank you both so much. It was
Yeah.
wonderful to get to talk with you a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both for being here. So we'll wrap up today's show. Again, please join us this weekend for the 50th celebration. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Many blessings to you and all those you love.